sunlight begins to fade now, and I feel like I'm losing time, but I don't know how I'm here. The sunlight is turned.
Make the ground shake.
taste was all I needed. I feel your love, loud and clear to the end. It's you and me, I'll follow you to the end. I'll follow you to the end. Breathe me into the light. Slowly heal the darkness in my heart. I hear you now. The taste was all I needed. I feel your love, loud and clear to the end. I'll follow you to the end. It's you and me, I'll follow you to the end. I'll follow you to the end. To the end, follow you to the Over the world where you're hanging weightless. used to think I was someone special till you knew my name. Open the doors to invade my castle. Don't you feel it strange? I'm going out on a limb where the clouds start to thin. Wearing my heart like a stupid grin. Out on a limb, out on a limb, out on a limb. travel to freedom, broken and worn, but they will keep on in the moonlight, the moonlight. The pressure is on, the cold of the season makes it hard to feel, but they persevere for the end game, the end game. I can only wish that one day we'll find the one to keep. The journey is an endless one, to the same love, the same love. Travel to freedom, broken and worn, but they once kept on in the moonlight, the moonlight. I can only wish that one day we'll find the one to keep. The journey is an endless one, to the same love, the same love. Kept on in the moonlight, the moonlight.
Good morning, evening, or afternoon, whatever it is where you are, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Crow, and joining me today is Cappuccino. Cappuccino, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself, Crow?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. I am ready for the final week of the league play for the Faeria Showdown League. And we've got a little bit of a different set of matchups for you guys today. But before we get into that, let's go over our current rankings. Right now, currently in the lead is XYZ, winning both of his matches from the previous 2 weeks, followed by King Dance and Satyrus, who have each won one. And then trailing is Nightingale at 0 wins right now. But with how everything is right now, Nightingale's still not out of it. If he wins his matchup and XYZ wins his matchup as well, he still has a shot at getting into the top 2 for the finals next week.
Yep, it's going to be pretty sick. It's all to the wire now.
Yeah, absolutely. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the rules for this week. Now, this week we have 3 different alternate win conditions, so to speak. So you're not trying to reduce your opponent from 20 to 0 as you normally do in a Faeria game. It's all going to be completely different. So Cappuccino, why don't you take him through the rules for the first game here?
All right, so for the first game, this was one of the suggestions that we had for a while, and this is going back a bit, but it's an awesome idea. It's what can happen first? Can you summon Tarim and have it die off and flood the board with forests? Or can you cast Dream first? And the first player to either successfully cast Dream or kill off their Tarim to create forests everywhere wins the game.
Yeah, so what sort of decks do you expect to have people come from with this? Like, do you think that they're just going to try for one strategy or the other and try to optimize for that? Or do you think they're going to try some kind of hybrid green-blue list?
This is going to be tough because Blue has gained so many ways of having card draw via the library now, via Lore Thief and Failed Experiments, a cheap way of cycling. Like, Blue can go through their deck so fast that doing just like a mono blue type deck with Aurora Stream seems really powerful. But, we could also see some crazy stuff with, Egg of Wonders, drawing into Tarim and it's summoning it, and then you just have to get your force to feed. There's a lot of strong things players can do. And they could also just go for mono green, but I feel like that's the slowest of the options. Just trying to hardcast Tarim doesn't really feel too good. So my assumption would be we see either a blue-green Egg of Wonders type deck, or we see mono-blue just going for the Dream.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think the mono green is just a little bit too slow, possibly a little bit too inconsistent too, because of the lack of card draw ability that green tends to have. I think you really need blue to supplement it at that point, and with that you might as well go Dream anyway.
Exactly.
Alright, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and just jump into the game and see what these players have. The first matchup is going to be Nightingale versus King Dans. So we're going to go ahead and jump in right here and see what the players have in store for us.
So while the players are just hitting play, I kind of wonder how many different things you can do in your deck. There's a lot of different strategies that I just briefly covered, whether you do Egg of Wonders, whether you go for, getting your Tarim out that way, or whether you just go for blue all draw. But there are some other strategies that can happen. And, with Mochi's discounting cards as well, we could see Storm Spawns. We could see some really interesting ways of getting your Faeria.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a... It's kind of interesting, like the way that blue and green do have different ways of getting Faeria. So Faeria Tree is one thing. Weeping Idol. I'm not sure if there's necessarily a way to trigger Weeping Idol though. Can you think of any in this sort of deck?
Well, if you fatigue yourself, you can. If you do Weeping Idol and you draw through your deck and you start taking damage, that's gonna proc it.
Yeah, so if you just spend all your Faeria on that, and it's kind of a risky strategy, obviously, trying to do that, but possibly with Library or something like that too, that's damaging you, so Weeping Idol would trigger off of that, and it would be an interesting one if some player does choose with that, but with that, we're going to go ahead and jump right in here. So once again, going to be King Dans versus Nightingale.
Awesome, here we go.
Alright, and it looks like Nightingale is on a green-blue list with those mochis that you were talking about, and King Dan's actually running Wavecrafter in his list. Wavecrafter, for those of you that don't know, isn't exactly the best thing to do if you're trying to get to 24 Faeria, so it'll be interesting to see what he has in store for that.
Yeah, but, respectively, it's going to shut down your opponent, assuming they don't have, like, Egg of Wonders to get out a tricky Tarim, so he might be able to just deny his opponent a ton of Faeria, and maybe wait for like a triple windfall combo or something.
Yeah, absolutely. So Wavecrafter plus 3 for the turn, plus collecting from all 4 wells would get you to a windfall. So it's possible that he could be going that route.
Now, it looks like Nightingale's opted in for the blue-green version, so I would assume that he's running Egg of Wonders.
Okay, that's very possible. But with things like Wood Elemental and Mochi, is that the sort of thing you're going for, or do you try to play with more of a creatureless list?
That's a good point because Egg of Wonders, you're right, it will conflict with Mochis and Wood Elementals, but he might just be taking that gamble.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do see the Storm Spawn, so that's another great thing to trigger off the Mochi, effectively just a little bit more Faeria. And I'd imagine he's probably running Feed the Forest in his list as well, so that just absolutely generates a massive amount of Faeria with Storm Spawn.
Sanctuary from King Dance. Okay, so this makes a lot of sense now. If King Dance can get down the Wavecrafter and stack up a Sanctuary, he can, in essence, pop it, then do like Windfall, Windfall, and then cast Dream. So it looks like that's what King Dance has opted for. He's going to be denying his opponent's Faeria with Wavecrafter and stacking up his Sanctuary until he can activate it for the Dream.
Yeah, now obviously in normal matches and that sort of thing, players are putting a ton of aggression on the other and that sort of thing. So the Triton Sanctuary would be a little bit more risky. But with this sort of list, I don't know if that's really going to be the case because you don't really have any aggression. Everyone's trying to build towards this Tarum, towards this Dream. So there's really no way to put pressure on the Sanctuary.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll. Okay, it looks like he will go for the Wavecrafter. I was curious if he would just hold off on it because you're not really shutting down your opponent's Faeria too much at the moment because Nightingale's on, going into a 6 Faeria turn, he can probably spend it.
Yeah, I wonder what's going through Nightingale's head right now. There's got to be a ton of different things right now, but with things like Faeria Tree, he could just win through it anyway. It does offer the potential if he gets like a double Faeria Tree down, he could just get straight up to an Aurora's Dream just off that.
Storm Spawn's going to be a huge play for him if he wants to go for it.
And it looks like the Storm Spawn is going to be what's coming down right now. So it's good that he's not just dead to this Wavecraft. He wasn't planning on getting 24 Faeria the easy way, so it looks like he does have some counterplay here at least.
King Dance with Storytellers. Now, you can, if you get lucky, manage to overdraw your opponent's Dream and negate them from being able to play it. So, there's some strategy involved with Storyteller trying to get your opponent to overdraw, but it's going to be hard because if he plays it right now, he's doing exactly what Nightingale wants. Nightingale wants cards right now, so that Storyteller is kind of a double-edged blade right now for King Dance.
Yeah, I imagine we'll definitely see the Lore Thief come down before the Storyteller at this point, unless Nightingale kind of seems to be having a lot of options in his hand at some point here. But with how much Faeria he's going to be able to generate just off the Wavecrafter by itself, I don't know if that will be happening anytime soon.
7-cost Windfall in the hands of King Dance. And Feed the Forest for Nightingale. So Nightingale could really go off this turn if he managed to have enough cards, but he's struggling with just that. He doesn't have enough cards.
Yeah, and really what he's looking for at this point is Tarum. So if he gets another Feed the Forest and Tarum, I think that'll be enough with the Storm Spawn just to activate Tarum in the same turn. So he'd Feed the Forest on Storm Spawn and then gets the Tarum going right away.
Shrine. So all kinds of Faeria rituals for Nightingale. This Wavecrafter it's awesome against Nightingale. Nightingale has so many rituals and stuff, and it's just not doing anything for him.
Yeah, he's perfectly fine with it, and really it might just be slowing down King Dance at this point, but at the same time, King Dance picks up a second Triton Sanctuary, so he could be just going off by himself. But interestingly enough, neither player has Tarum or a Dream in their hand right now, so they're going to have to draw into that before they can really do anything to win this game.
Yeah, and I was saying that the Wavecrafter was actually shutting down Nightingale, but Nightingale could actually cast Dream if he were to draw into it soon, because with the Shrine and Feed on Stormspawn, that is a ton of Faeria.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, King Dance is going after that Faeria tree right now. This Storyteller here is going to go right in towards it next turn if Nightingale can't do anything about it, and I can't imagine there'll be many taunts in this sort of deck.
Man, Nightingale's got to be hoping. The one issue Nightingale has, though, is Dream cost three lakes. So he does eventually need to make the third lake. Now, he could wait for Earthcraft to find that, which is probably what you want to do, so he'll be drawing almost every turn.
Yeah, and that's the problem with these lists, right? So you can either go after Tarum or Dream, but that's a total of 8 colored lands if you want to prepare for both of them. As opposed to King Dance's list, that really only needs 3 lakes, and then he can just use his wheel to draw cards or gain Faeria, or whatever he needs at the time.
He's got to be feeling good about that Wood Elemental pickup. He's going to preserve his Faeria tree and let him start moving over with his Storm Spawn.
Yeah, looks like he proved me wrong about not having many taunts in this deck. Wood Elemental is a great answer right here.
King Dan's now with Shifting Tide to cycle. Has a ton of Faeria to his disposal. Goes for the draw first, doesn't find anything other than a failed experiment, not what he's looking for.
Yeah, 3 failed experiments with nothing in hand is really not what he wanted to see. Another Shifting Tide to cycle through, and he's down to 13 cards in deck right now, and finds another Triton Sanctuary.
Yeah, but with King Dan's having all of this card draw and not needing to make forests, Nightingale's only at 17 cards currently. Now, when he draws on his turn and has the manual draw, he'll go down to 15, but, King Dan's is drawing through his deck much faster.
Yeah, absolutely, and if Nightingale draws Tarum at this point, he wins the game on the spot with the hand that he has, since he did pick up that second Feed the Forest. And I think he might even be able to go off with a Dream this turn if he draws it.
Yeah, Nightingale really set up to do a lot of things. King Dan's now, there's not a lot you can do as King Dan's. You can't move your Storyteller, you can't attack. You don't want to use up the Sanctuary because your Wavecrafter is going to deny the Faeria anyway. King Dan's really in a rough spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Now he is going to drop down this Triton Sanctuary just to kind of get in the way of Nightingale. And it's, interestingly enough, both players are kind of low on space. There's not that many lands and there's not much creature combat going on, so the board is just absolutely flooded right now. And here we see a Baron Thulgar from Nightingale.
Yeah, so Baron Thulgar kind of like Storyteller, where you give your opponent the chance of drawing a card, and it could be a card they need. But, I gotta feel like that benefited King Dan's more than it helped Nightingale.
Oh, Nightingale's just going for it here. He uses the Feed the Forest on the Storm Spawn.
Yeah, there's a chance. With Earthcraft, he's going to be able to cycle even more, and he can still manually draw a card.
Oh man, just into a Spring Mochi. I guess the saving grace here is he is able to put down another Storm Spawn if he wants to.
His Faeria tree is activating next turn, so he's probably not too worried about the Faeria.
Okay, so yeah, here comes the Storm Spawn. He's going to lose a lot to the Wavecrafter here, but as we said, it's not crippling by any means.
Now, he does know that King Dan's is running Storyteller, so he has to be a little bit careful. If King Dan's were to play a Storyteller, on Nightingale's next turn, he would overdraw. So, we saw Nightingale mouse over the Rinnan Shrine there, wondering if he should play it, and he didn't end up going for it. King Dan's now know, with the pickup of Dream, can he cast it?
We'll see. He's up
it's
to
really
14,
close.
23 Faeria,
Yes.
and yep, that'll do
There
it.
it is.
So King Dan's casts the Dream, and he will take game 1 of this match. Very close match there. Really came down to who drew the right card first. Oh,
That's
man.
interesting. Phantasms and Water Alleys in the hand of King Dan's now. So that is it. King Dan's going to win game number 1.
All right, very well played by him. Yeah, really great to see. I was really curious as to what sort of matchup we did expect to see from this sort of thing. So, whether or not the hybrid would work out or the mono blue, but looks like King Dan's drew the only copy, his only win condition basically in the deck, just in time to win the game there.
Yeah, I wish I was keeping track. I'll have to go back after the break when we get into the next set and see how many turns it took for that victory. I want to see which player can get the fastest victory to cast Dream or Tarum. I'm guessing that was around turn 8. I'll go back and check afterwards and let you guys know. But, that was a pretty quick game.
Yeah, absolutely. And this next one has the potential to be even quicker, really. So the next match is going to be Suicide. So instead of trying to reduce your opponent from 20 to 0, you're trying to reduce yourself from 20 to 0. So there's a few different ideas that you could go with that. You could try to fatigue yourself. You could try to run red cards and yellow cards that damage yourself. What do you think the strongest strategy is going to be there, Cappuccino?
Oh man, I think just overdrawing is your best bet. Those blood songs and stuff that you could be going for soul packs, but I think honestly, just doing mono blue with libraries, storytellers, lore thieves, like you can really go through your deck really fast. When I was doing the dream prep just to see what I could come up with, I actually came up with a list that was almost killing myself turn 7, turn 8. I was dead practically, so I'm really curious to see if they just go for a mono blue, super draw intensive deck.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see if any player came up with that or if they've got something completely different in mind. So we're going to go ahead and jump back into game and see what they do have in store for us.
While the players are selecting their decks, like one other archetype that I just forgot to mention is like demons, altars of souls, like those can be dealing damage per turn, every turn, so like we could see a lot of different types of self-harm decks.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like it's going to be King Dance is on yellow, and Nightingale is on red-yellow. We'll see if there's anything else in these lists or not, but there's the Altar of Souls, like you were mentioning. And King Dan's actually with Wisdom in his list, too, just for a little bit of card draw.
Now, Doomsday is insane. That's going to cut his life in half, and it's actually might even just give Nightingale a very quick win. With Doomsday Shaitan Demon, that could be anywhere around a turn 4 suicide.
Yeah, this might be the only time you guys will ever see a turn 2 Doomsday be correct in a game of Faeria. But, if you're trying to kill yourself, that's the biggest value right there, is just get 10 damage right on yourself at the second turn. Alright, Nightingale drawing into a Storyteller as well, and there is the Doomsday. It's coming down right now, so Nightingale already out to a big lead in this game.
I feel like King Dance just almost has the wisdom and look for a Doomsday of his own if he's running it. I'd imagine with him going for the yellow-red route, though, he is.
Yeah, but no
does
Doomsday
not find it.
He does have double Bloodsong, though, which does almost the same thing, and it enables a lot more cards, too. So, interestingly enough, he's going for the second Desert right now, so we can get the Altar of Souls going first, and probably just planning on using the Bloodsong to follow that up and make sure he can finish himself off.
And this is it. Nightingale's now taking 2 damage per turn. And when he gets to the second mountain, Bloodsong Flameburst, it's so close to lethal. Storyteller going to heal up Nightingale, though, and not heal up King Dance.
Yeah, so nice little tech card here in the Storyteller. One of the players asked me beforehand if they're allowed to heal their opponent, and obviously Storyteller is really the only way to do that in the game. So definitely an interesting strategy, and it kind of negates a little bit of Nightingale's early advantage.
Yeah, exactly that. However, it is giving Nightingale a lot of card draw.
Yeah, so here we even see the Death Wish Ghouls to combo into those Doomsdays, and at this point, King Dance is just a little bit ahead on the Faeria farm, and he does find a Doomsday of his own. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do with this on the following turn or two.
Yeah, it looked like he was debating playing the Soul Pack Doomsday, and I'm a little bit surprised he didn't, because it would have killed off Nightingale's Demon. So I'm curious why he didn't go for it. What do you think, Crow?
I think he just wants to save the Soul Pack for after Doomsday. Just try to get... Because effectively, if you play Soul Pack before Doomsday, it's -1 health, because then Doomsday cuts that in half. But if you play it after Doomsday, it's just that extra damage, and it gives you the extra Faeria as well. So I think that's what he was planning, just trying to get the maximum value that he can out of Soul Pack, since he's already a little bit behind.
Fair enough, and with 9 cards in hand, King Dance has got to be wondering whether he should drop something just as like a token creature to die for his Doomsday.
And he looked like he was considering it, but I think he's actually really close to just killing himself on the following turn. If he plays a Mountain here, and he plays Doomsday, that brings him down to 10, and then the 2 Blood Songs plus Soul Pact will kill him pretty quickly. That should be dead the next turn, right?
Yeah, that is going to be lethal. So he can suicide next turn. As for Nightingale, though, Nightingale's going to be taking 4, 6, 9, potentially 11 damage. So in the hands of Nightingale, it looks like Nightingale's 1 off lethal.
Alright, and King
Assuming
Dance does
that
have a nice
discount's
play
lined
there,
up.
playing the Altar of Souls first, just to make sure he doesn't lose that Faeria. And Nightingale has to deal himself 12 damage to catch up here. He's going to start with the Bloodsong by the look of it and see what he can hit.
Oh, it hit the Soul Pact. He didn't play the Soul Pact first and got punished for that.
Yeah, it looks like it might be a little bit of a mistake there, just not going down with that beforehand. But he's going to go for the Cypher's Wrath here, and he is one...
Super close.
Oh my god, it's so
2
close.
Faeria off.
So if he plays the Storyteller here, does that stop King Dance? I don't think it does. It looks like King Dance will still be at exact lethal, 1 over lethal. Oh, but that's a Soul Pact. That's going to do it. Except he healed himself.
No, that is it. Bloodsong is going to do it.
Okay, yeah, that does it. All right. Nightingale finds the path to victory there. Oh, man.
That was insane. So it turns out the first person to play Doomsday did win that match, but it was really close game.
Oh, yeah, it all came down to the final couple of draws there, and that's going to bring the match to 1-1. So these players are right next to each other, real close in the match here.
Yeah, and now for Game 3, we have another game mode. And for Game 3, it's going to be Collection. The challenge for this game is to collect from all 4 wells in a single turn. Once you do that, you win the match.
Yeah, and now there's a few different strategies with this one too. Like before the big patch coming in, Sagami Huntmaster would have actually been a pretty interesting one, just to kind of make that green list to go after from that direction. But at the same time, you can't ignore the tools that both blue and yellow have to offer. Blue with its land movement to try to go really quickly, and then yellow just kind of the sustained after lands are built, having a ton of creatures that can move around with Rajam Fanatic or Flash Wind or Desert Twister. So I think those will be the two main strategies there with green and yellow. Which one do you think you prefer, Cappuccino?
Yeah, I mean, I really like wind soldiers to be quick creatures to gather around. With flash winds and wind soldiers, like you could loop around the board really quickly. But blue has a lot of jump creatures and just a lot of tokens. So I almost feel like blue is really strong for this as well. So my approach would be to do like a blue or a yellow deck. I think I would go for the yellow. It's going to be really exciting to see what they've gone for. I think green is a bit too slow.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see exactly how fast you can get that out, though, because with things like Kalim and very powerful mobile cards like that, it's going to be a pretty big possibility of just winning on like turn 3 or so. But at the same time, if your opponent blocks out Wells, then Kalim gets a little bit weaker. But players are ready, and we're going to go ahead and jump back in the game and see what they have in store for us. Alright, and it looks like Nightingale is on a yellow list with Celestial Tower, which we don't usually see too much. And then King Dance is actually on a hybrid list, so it looks like he's on blue-yellow.
Yeah, this is kind of cool from King Dance. He's going to just be going for drawing through a bunch of cards and just waiting to find like Windborn Flashwind, I assume, and get that combo off.
Yeah, now interestingly enough, Nightingale doesn't have any creatures, and Slaughtering Shadow is really not necessarily
Slaughtering
the
Shadow.
powerful one there. I wonder what he's thinking with Slaughtering Shadow. Is it just the cheapest creature available or something?
No, that's Kalim's follower.
Well, no, unless he already has 3 followers, I'm saying. So it might just be that this is like the filler slot for a cheap creature.
Yeah, that could be the case. Though I would still rather use a monk or something.
Yeah,
There's a lot of cheap yellow cards.
Okay. But he does have the Kalim's Training, which will give it Windborn, and it does do a pretty good job of trading as well. So maybe that's kind of what he was thinking. If an opponent comes up with a mobile creature, he wants some kind of way to deal with it.
Yeah, Soul Drain pretty nice here. He's going to be able to kill off the Lore Thief. He's not worried about the Lore Thief collecting from all 4 wells, but, just to make sure that you're starving King Dan some resource. And with the change to structures, being able to activate Celestial Tower that turn means he was able to double collect from the wells.
Yeah, and that charge is persisting as well. That's kind of odd. I don't know if that's supposed to be the case. Oh, sorry, that's from Windborn. Disregard that. Also, he actually has a Wind Wisp as well, so flying charge 3 creature. So 1 more Flash Wind, and he's actually very close to taking this.
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to fly onto the lake.
Are you talking the lake in front of his opponent's
Or he could
door?
use the structure. Actually, wait. Nightingale has a good setup. He can activate the structure on the Slaughtering Shadow, and then dash all the way to the bottom. Oh, no, wait, it's charge 3. I'm still thinking it's charge 5, and maybe he was thinking the same thing, was that he could make it to the far bottom left, but he can't.
Yeah, just a little bit short, but he is still setting up, so if he moves the Slaughtering Shadow down 1 more, then he can use the Wind Wisp to collect 2 on the right side, and then a Flash Wind or something like that to collect the 2 on the left. So it still puts him in a pretty good position, even though it didn't quite get him all the way to the well.
Yeah, now it looks like King Dance is going to be able to block it somewhat, though, with most likely playing as both Fanatics. He could Windborn 1, and then push it with the other so that he doesn't need to have them both be played from the same area, but looks like he's going to opt into just playing 1 then. And, with Flashwind and Fanatic, there's a chance he could loop the board.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is a pretty interesting part too, where this spot is very important to the double collection that Nightingale was kind of setting up for. So it looks like it's going to be pretty important. He's actually just going to go ahead and trade off into the creature just to clear that off and make sure that that spot is open for the second Wind Wisp that he just drew.
Yeah, and this is where you got to be thinking, maybe I should have been running more removal. Maybe I should have been playing just 1 color and just hoping for value creatures. Because, with both opponents going for this yellow, like Flashwind play shenanigans, it means that if your opponent just has an earlier start than you do, you could just lose before you can even do anything. And this is really close. Is this actually it?
This is it.
This is it.
Yeah, the
King
second
Dance is
column
just
training.
gonna win.
Oh my god. So King Dance is able to pull it out of nothing with 2 haste creatures and collect from all 4 wells in the same turn. And he will take this game. King Dance taking the series 2-1. Very well played by him. Oh, wow.
The power of followers. Best collectors in the game. You
Yeah.
saw it first here, boys.
Absolutely. Definitely showing off the power there, and I didn't really see that coming. You know, he was just top decking, trying to find the right cards, and eventually just found that combo and was just able to take it all out in one turn from nothing on the board. Really impressive play from King Dance. Alright, so unfortunately that means that Nightingale will be out of the running for this last match. So thanks to him for playing on the stream, and we hope to see him in the future for some other Faeria Showdown. But in the meantime, we have the next match setting up, which is going to be Satyrus versus XYZ. So we're going to take a short break here, and we'll be back with more Faeria action. Don't go anywhere.
You don't seem so far away. The only thing between us is empty space, empty space. And even when the music is loud, I'd rather be no other place than here with you now, here with you now. Here with you, see your Here with you, I see your face in the crowd, but you don't seem so far away. Nothing between us is empty space, empty space. Even when the music is loud, I'd rather be no other place. Here with you now, here with you now.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Faeria Showdown League. If you're just joining in, I'm Crow, and joining me today is Cappuccino. Cappuccino, what'd you think of that last match?
That was pretty awesome. I want to see if anyone can do it faster for the Dream Challenge for Game 1, and see just who can be the record holder for who won those game modes the fastest.
Absolutely. So why don't you go over what the Dream Challenge is real quick?
All right, so Game 1, we have the challenge of the first player to cast Aurora's Dream or kill off their own Terram is the victorious, which means, you can do stuff like Egg of Wonders to get out a Terram and then feed on it and then you win, or you can do like a mono blue, save a bunch of Faeria, and get off Aurora's Dream to win. So whichever deck type they go for, the first person to pull it off wins.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about it before, and you think the Dream strategy is a little bit stronger, right?
Yeah, I'm a fan of the Dream strategy, though we saw something really interesting out of King Dan's in that previous set. King Dan's opting in to go for Wave Crafters and the, what is that tower called? I actually forget the tower's name.
The Triton Sanctuary?
Triton Sanctuary, right. So with Wavecrafter, he was able to deny his opponent Faeria through Wavecrafter resetting it to 3, and then with stacking up his own Triton Sanctuary, he managed to pop it to get a ton of Faeria to be able to cast Dream. And that is how King Dan's won the match. I'm curious if more players have gone for this Wavecrafter type thing, or if it's just King Dan's to come up with this shenanigan.
Yeah, it seemed like such a troll thing to begin with, just running this Wavecrafter when you're trying to get to 24 Faeria. I had no idea how he was going to win the game until we noticed that Triton Sanctuary, and that's just kind of a brilliant play. That's put you over the edge to start playing Windfalls and all that sort of stuff. So really a lot of opportunity to have some creative deck building in these matchups.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, unfortunately, we are having a slight technical difficulty with one of our players, so we're going to try to reach him a little bit here. So please bear with us while we're trying to figure out exactly what's going on here. But we're going to take another... Oh, no. Okay, looks like we're back, so just give us a couple more minutes just to get the player in game, and we'll be with you shortly. So, in the meantime, so we talked a little bit about the mono-green strategy as well, and both of us don't think that mono-green really has the tools that you need to just kind of get this Terram going. So the other option there is the blue-green hybrid, and you said a couple things about Egg of Wonders there. How would you build an Egg of Wonders list, do you think, with this sort of matchup?
Yeah, so running creatures like Storm Spawns, Terram, having Feed the Forest, obviously, so that you can feed on Storm Spawns and stuff. Doing blue-green, it's a bit rough because you can't be running too many creatures, and you would be really vulnerable to stuff like Wavecrafter, for example, out of King Dan's. But like just running all of the events and just really expensive cards, running the Egg of Wonders, and then having like wisdoms and windfalls and stuff, and just hoping to get it that way.
Okay. So yeah, no, obviously we haven't seen that just yet. The only blue-green list that we saw was just kind of a standard hybrid without using those Egg of Wonders, I think. You just really can't run any other creatures in it just because it's the first creature you draw, and that's really the only thing you can go for.
Yeah, exactly. It really does limit your card draw because you don't want to be running storytellers or lore thieves because if you draw that with your Egg of Wonders on the field, guess what? Your Egg of Wonders just consumed to be a lore thief, which is not what you want it to be. So, there are huge downsides to doing Egg of Wonders, but it gives you two win conditions instead of just the one being Aurora's Stream.
Okay. Um, so on that note, we're still having slight technical difficulties, unfortunately. For those of you that don't know, if you are new to Faeria or something like that, they actually just dropped a patch recently today that's kind of completely changed the UI. So a lot of different possibilities of a couple bugs and that sort of thing going on, but we're fighting through them here, and we'll see if we can get you a game very shortly here. In the meantime, we're going to take a short break. It's going to be about a 3-minute break or so, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Faeria. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with the Faeria Showdown League. Once again, I'm Crow, and this is Cappuccino over here. I think our tech problems are just about resolved here.
As you say that, he goes offline. But just to spend a little bit of time mentioning this, XYZ is currently undefeated, right? So this is going to be the match where it decides whether or not he was flawless in this Faeria Showdown League. So it's a really hype match to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And this will be the match that if XYZ wins it, it'll push Satyrus out, and it'll be XYZ versus King Dance for the finals. But if Satyrus wins, we'll have to go to tiebreakers.
Now, just waiting on XYZ just to see if he can reconnect. As Crow mentioned earlier, there was a patch today, so there's a couple. It looks like a couple of issues with him being able to connect to the game. We're hoping to sort through that as quick as possible for you guys.
Yep, so not exactly sure what's going on with it, and obviously we'll be reporting this to the devs, and they do a great job with all this stuff, responding to any community issues like this and that sort of thing. So if you ever run into a problem, especially after a patch like this, just make sure you report it on the Discord, and they are, like I said, they do a great job responding to it. Alright, so we're going to take another short break here while we're trying to figure this out. Should be another few minutes to see if we can get this going, so don't go anywhere and we'll be right back.